A fan in the stands pulled out their phone, hit record, and captured 11 seconds of video that ended up on the desk of one of the biggest names in sports media, and he got it completely wrong on national television. That 11-second clip convinced millions of people that Caitlin Clark's head coach had just been fired. It hadn't happened. Not even close. But by the time the truth caught up, the story had already spread further than the correction ever would. Stay to the end, because I'm going to show you the actual footage everyone was reacting to, the exact words Caitlin Clark used to shut the whole thing down herself, and the one line her coach said afterward that reignited the entire controversy all over again. Before we get into this one, if you've never had a viral rumor about your own team convince you something happened that never actually did, welcome, because that is exactly what we're breaking down today. Hit subscribe now, because this channel exists to get you the real story before the fake version convinces you first. Turn on notifications too, because when this saga updates again, and it will, you're going to want to be the one telling your friends what actually happened, not the other way around. Let's set the scene. Late May, 2026. The Indiana Fever walk into a nationally televised matchup against the expansion Portland Fire as 12-point favorites. On paper, this is a game Indiana wins comfortably. 2 nights earlier they dropped one to the Golden State Valkyries, so this was supposed to be the bounce-back game, the one that gets the season back on track. It did not go that way. Early in the first quarter, Indiana actually jumps out to an 8-2 lead. Things look fine. Then, with 6.5 minutes left in the opening frame, head coach Stephanie White makes a decision that would end up defining the entire week. She pulls Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull all at once, while Indiana is still winning. Portland responds immediately with a 19-4 run. By the time the quarter ends, the Fire are up 29-15. Indiana never fully recovers. The final score, Portland 100, Indiana 84. A 16-point loss, on national television, as a 12-point favorite. That alone would have been a rough night. But it's what happened later in the game that actually broke the internet. Cameras catch an animated exchange between White and Clark during a huddle. White appears visibly frustrated, gesturing toward Clark, and moments later she waves rookie Raven Johnson over to take Clark's spot. The clip gets clipped, reposted, and within hours it's everywhere. Some accounts even claimed the footage looked artificially altered because of an odd blue shape near the edge of the frame, a theory that got debunked almost as fast as it spread, once people realized it was just the padding on the bench seat behind them. But by then, the damage was already done. Fans didn't just criticize the rotation. A section of the fanbase went further, openly floating the idea that White was deliberately undermining her own franchise player. To be completely clear about what the reporting actually shows, there has never been any evidence to support that. None. It was a theory born entirely out of one tense sideline moment, amplified by a losing performance on a big stage. And that's the exact atmosphere Skip Bayless walked into. A handful of fabricated posts started circulating, claiming the Fever had already fired Stephanie White and were bringing in Iowa head coach Jan Jensen to replace her. It was completely made up. Not a rumor with a kernel of truth stretched too far, fully invented, from nothing. But it looked real enough, and it landed at the perfect moment of maximum fan frustration, and Bayless ran with it on air. Indianapolis Star beat reporter Chloe Peterson shut it down almost immediately, stating plainly that there was, in her words, absolutely no validity to the report, and that Stephanie White remained the Fever's head coach. Bayless didn't fully back off, though. He doubled down, saying that even if the firing report was wrong, White won't last much longer, clashing with Clark, despite the fact that White is a former WNBA Coach of the Year who had just led Indiana to a semi-final playoff appearance the season before, falling in 5 games to the eventual champion Las Vegas Aces. So now you've got a real 16-point blowout loss, a real tense sideline moment caught on camera, and a completely fake firing report from one of the most watched voices in sports media, all colliding within about 48 hours of each other. And sitting right in the middle of that firestorm was the one person everybody was talking about, but nobody had actually heard from yet, Caitlin Clark. She didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days after the incident, Clark addressed it directly with reporters. She was blunt. She said the moment was simply two people being competitive, two people that really want to win, and that it had been completely overblown by media and fans who, in her words, don't have a clue. She went further, saying nobody on the coaching staff or in the Fever locker room had thought twice about it, and that people online were manufacturing a storyline out of something that, inside the team, wasn't a story at all. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Because when Stephanie White addressed the incident herself the following Monday, she didn't just downplay it, she added a comment that reignited the whole debate from a completely different angle. White stood firm on her coaching decision, saying plainly, "What happened in that moment is, I was challenging a player. It's coaching, is what it is." But then she added something that immediately drew fresh scrutiny. She said she didn't think a moment like that would even become an issue, if you're watching it in men's sports, most of the time. That one sentence took a story that was already dying down and gave it a second life, this time as a conversation about double standards and how women's sports moments get covered compared to men's. Reactions split hard. Some agreed with White completely. Others felt the comment sidestepped the actual question being asked about her rotation decisions in a blowout loss. So where does the real story actually leave us? Not with a fired coach. Not with a secret front office rebellion. Not with a superstar plotting behind the scenes. The real story is smaller than the rumor, and honestly, more interesting because of it: a competitive coach, a competitive superstar, one heated 90 seconds on a nationally televised bad night, and an internet that turned it into a coaching change that never happened, loud enough that it fooled one of the most followed sports commentators in the country. Here's what's actually worth watching going forward. Clark shut down the tension narrative herself. White stood by her decision but opened up a completely different controversy in the process. And neither of them has said the last word on this yet. The next time these two are on a broadcast together, in a tight game, in the fourth quarter, every camera in that building is going to be locked on the bench, waiting to see if it happens again. If it does, this entire story restarts from zero, and this time there won't be any fake posts needed to make it a national conversation. If you want to be the first to know when that happens, subscribe now and keep notifications on. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Stephanie White's comment about men's sports was a fair point, or a dodge? We'll see you in the next one.